Hey, it's Friday. That means we are here and we have a special co-host. You. Yes, you. It is the Raider Nation Mailbag Show. Scockel Branson, Mo Moten, Silver and Black today, Odyssey Original Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your audio. Mo is the national, senior, universal, the king of all media. Oh, wait, that's Howard Stern. No, he is Midtown Mo. Moten, senior NFL writer at Bleacher Report, also Raiders columnist at sportsnaut.com. You can also catch him on his Bleacher Report lives before and after every Raiders game. Yes, sir. And I'm Scockel Branson, your host as well. Follow Mo on x.com, MOEMOTUN. That's Mo Moten. I am at LV Goalie. The show is SNB Today. Mo, you think anybody's got anything to say this week on the Mailbag Show? Maybe.
Maybe a little fired up after, a game that didn't go too well,
Yeah.
According to McDaniels, it was about 6 plays. Which is, by the way, really quick, when I responded to that tweet and Josh McDaniels now to me is Joshua. He's not cool enough for the Josh name until that offense starts scoring more than 21 points. I'm calling him Joshua.
Oh
Joshua Thomas McDaniels. He's known as Joshua from now on until that offense gets it together.
Yes. Well, see, if you're watching us on YouTube, and I have 2 studios at my home, right? This is the other one I've been on for a few weeks. I'm going to move back to the other one with the neon signs. But if you look at the Raiders neon sign, Mo, behind me, and for those listening, I'm just pointing to it so you know, it's not going on until they win. So that's staying off until they win. That's what I've decided. I'm not wasting my energy, physical energy that I pay for. So anyway, yes, Joshua. Yep.
Joshua.
Not only the 6 plays, I will never, ever, and if Josh McDaniels is ever let go or leaves the Raiders, we won one of the 3 phases of the game against the Bears, and that was the kicking game. I have never. Have you ever heard a professional coach say that? Now, they've talked about their kicking being good. That's fine. But you got your ass beat. Oh, but we won one area of the 3, and it was the kicking game. But we missed a field goal.
And Daniel Carlson,
I still don't believe it.
Daniel Carlson is not even hitting 80% of his field goals. He's having his second worst year in terms of field goal accuracy, which is
correct. I was he was injured. Okay, then let me ask you this. Hey, coach, he's got a hamstring problem. Make him kick anyway. Okay, good choice. Not the player's fault. Not the player's fault if he's injured. I got it. Although he made one later, so go figure.
Scott, we're being too negative, Scott.
You're being too negative. You're being too negative, you jackass. Somebody called me an alcoholic the other day. I'm like, where's that come from? Like, yeah. I'm like, what? Those you laugh at because you're just like, okay, you're just like throwing stuff out there, and God bless you and your medication. Oh, well. Okay. I did have one. I got to share the story since we're just shooting the crap here on the Mailbag edition. Is I had some guy just come after me, and I was like, okay, I answer him a few times, like, because I engage with people, maybe it can turn them around and they're actually going to have a discussion. First mistake. So he just started, and I said to him, I finally just popped in my head. I'm like, you know what? The real heroes in the world are the people who have to deal with you every day. Those are heroes. And he never responded. So there you go. Sometimes you just got to kill him with logic. All right. We're going to get to our first call, and we're going down south. You like peach cobbler, Mo?
No.
You don't like peach?
Not a peach cobbler guy.
Oh my God. Okay, not cobbler. How about pie? Peach? I'm
more of a cake person, not a pie person.
Okay, that's right. You told me that. So peach cake, peach smoothie.
Peach cake, peach smoothie. How about a red velvet cake? How about that?
There you go. All right. Well, I say that because we're going to Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, we have listeners in Atlanta, Georgia, and where they have like 1,000 streets named Peachtree, by the way, not just one. It's very hard when you're down there. Turn left on Peachtree and then another right on Peachtree and then take another left on Peachtree. You're like, well, the same street? No, they're all different. Okay, cool. John from Atlanta. Here we go. You ready, Mo? Here he goes.
Hey, Scott and Mo. This is John. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia. My question, more comment, was, this Bears game was very deflating. Honestly, as I look at the schedule now, I don't see a win on this schedule. Maybe up until the Vikings game at home, and then I don't even know after last night if that's even possible. Where do you guys see the wins? Because even those New York games are going to be tough. Those teams are plucky, like in Vegas. I don't see the wins on the schedule. Tell me kind of what I'm missing. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. That's John in Atlanta. Thanks for the call, man. And we were talking about this yesterday on the show, Mo, which was looking through that schedule. I mean, again, it's hard. It's hard to say this. I'm going to say it. I'm going to try to do it with a straight face. I don't see them losing to the Giants, but I said I don't see them losing to the Bears. So I think John's got a good point here. And even the Vikings, look how the Vikings played this week, right? And
right.
so I think anything can happen. I don't think they beat the Lions. I think the Jets probably could beat them at home, but then the Giants look to be the one game where I'm like, okay, if you can't win this one, then something's really going wrong. But it's hard. And I get John's question, but I can't look at the schedule other than the losses that I know are going to happen. I can't look at it and say, yo, I think here's where I see the wins.
So John from Georgia, or Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, right? We're just include those states.
Atlanta. He's in Atlanta.
So I want to take you back to the offseason and my offseason prediction for the Rays. I said 6-11, right? Originally, I said 7-10, and then I said 6-11, right? So the Rays have 3 wins right now. The games I would circle, I'm not saying these are gimmies. I'm not saying the Rays are definitely going to win or should be favored. You talked about it. The Giants game. The Jets game could go either way. The Jets have a really good defense, but I've watched a lot of Zach Wilson. Let me tell you, regardless of what the Jets' record is, Zach Wilson is awful. Okay, I just want to say that.
Better.
He's awful. Even when he gets better, it's still awful. But I will say this: Giants game, the Jets game could go either way. Remember, there's a back-to-back home game, so they don't have to travel East Coast, so that game should be close. They still have the Colts later in the year. Who knows where the Colts will be? I know the Colts are competitive, but Gardner Minshew is going to be starting for the end of the season. He's very up and down. You won't see Anthony Richardson. He had shoulder surgery. We don't know where the Colts will be at the end of the year or what the health is going to be like, but that's a team that's eventually, to me, is going to fall out of the playoff picture at the end. And then the Raiders have this great winning streak against the Denver Broncos, and they have to see them again at home. Mm-hmm. So if I'm looking at the 3 games that the Raiders could win, Giants, Jets could go either way. Who did I mention? The Colts could bottom out late in the season, especially with injuries, and the Denver Broncos, who the Raiders have just dominated over the past since they've moved, going back to Oakland. I remember Benjamin Albright said that the Broncos haven't beat the Raiders since they've been in Oakland. So there are those 3 games. I'm not saying those are gimmies or the Raiders should be favored, but if you're trying to find wins on the schedule, I think I was pretty much on when I said 6 wins, and I think those are 3 games that you want, 3 or 4 games that you look at.
Yeah, even then, like how many games is Jimmy Garoppolo going to play? Like,
what did I say?
What did you say?
Over was 10.
10. Yeah, and I don't think he's going to get
7 games.
Yeah, I think it'll be more than that.
I said this, and I said this not as a joke, but it's the truth. Jimmy Garoppolo has been in the blue tent more times than he's thrown touchdown passes this year. and that's not a joke. That's the truth. And whether he's banged up or not, I think we're going to see Aiden O'Connell start a handful of games at the end of the year because Jimmy Garoppolo just can't hold up. But we all knew this. There's no need to take a victory lap for a guy who's hurt. He's hurt, but we know his injury history. We knew this. Josh McDaniels knew this. Why are you not preparing Aiden O'Connell to start knowing that your starting quarterback has this lengthy injury history?
Yeah, I mean, no question. And I think that you just look at some of the things that are going on with this team, and it's befuddling because you can't quite understand why those decisions are made. That's the thing for me. It's I get it. Okay, yeah, we're not NFL executives. Okay, I get that. But it's just kind of like simple logic, and we watch enough other football. But I think that it's crazy. But anyway, John, thank you so much for your voicemail. I appreciate that. And by the way, if you if you feel the desire to, and we would love for you to call in. And remember, I always tell you, if you're going to call in and call us, by the way, the number is 702. And we'll put it down in the comments on YouTube, by the way, and in the podcast, 702-900-7869. That's 702-900-7869. I invite you to do it like after the game. Most of the calls came in this week, like the day after, Monday, Tuesday. So do that. Get them to us by Wednesday morning and get on the show. All right. Let's see where we at now. We are going to do one more call and then we're going to take a break. All right. So Ray from Los Angeles. So we get LA calling in. Here's Ray.
Here, but inexcusable.
Oh,
inexcusable. No excuses on why we are so horrible at football. Raiders are horrible at football. It seems like every week we're expecting this, Josh McDaniels offense to see what it's made of. And, we've seen little tiny, glimmers of hope on the field. But then again, whenever we take 2 steps forward, we take 5 steps back. I don't know, man. I don't know what the end game is for this franchise. I hear people saying, come on, Mark, sell, or, Josh McDaniels just needs to just quit. This guy's not going to quit with the money that the Raiders are paying him. The only way he gets fired is, hell, I don't even know if he does get fired this year. We might end up having this guy for another year or so. It's just the way how things have gone these last few years with anything Raiders. So, I'm going to have my Bible out for Monday night game, though. Detroit came off an embarrassing loss. They're going to come back with a vengeance. With that defensive line, Motor City Dan Campbell has that team, rolling. The Lions are probably what McDaniels thought he was going to have this year. So,
all right, there you go. Ray in Los Angeles. Thanks. Some gems in there. But I think he's expressed what I've seen from a lot of fans, especially our listeners. There's a toxic base of people out there, but our listeners have been pretty level-headed, obviously all disappointed, clearly. But I think he encapsulated it there, Mo. He's like, I just don't know what's going on with this franchise. Like the Vegas move, everybody understood how exciting that was and how good it was for the financial health of the team and to put it on an even keel to where it would have more cash, it could do more things. But now people are like, the football side of things just doesn't seem like it's making any progress.
Okay, so a few things, right? I want to go back to something he said at the beginning of his voicemail. He said the Raiders are just bad at football, right? So people have been asking him, Mo, why have you been so fired up lately? You think I want to watch bad football?
Exactly.
You think I want to take time out of my day to sit there and watch the Raiders not score a touchdown until a minute left in the fourth quarter? You think that's fun? So when people say, why are you so fired up? You shouldn't, have a kind of a fan mentality. It's not a fan mentality. It's frustration that I have to sit there and break this down when the Raiders continually do the same thing over and over. And he talked about it. And it seems like a perpetual cycle of the Raiders, have some hope. And then they take several steps back and they look even worse. And then you're looking up and you're saying, what's the direction of this football team? Where is this going? I will say this, and we've been critical of John Gruden when he was the Raiders head coach. You remember that, right? You remember that tenure. We've been critical with John Gruden, but at least I could say with John Gruden, even with his horrible roster management, the Raiders made incremental steps in the right direction. They never lost fewer games than the previous season. They won like 1 or 2 more games. Now, it wasn't the kind of progression we all expected when you have a bunch of first-round draft picks from players you traded away, but at least you can see it moving in the right direction. Slowly, but it was moving in the right direction. With Josh McDaniels, it seems to be going in the wrong direction, and then there's no direction for the future. And you're looking up and you're saying, well, where is this going? Are you buyers or sellers at the deadline? Is Devontae Adams going to be happy here next year? Because it doesn't make sense for the Raiders to trade him this year. what happens with Josh Jacobs after you waited so long to kind of revise his franchise tag deal? What is his future? Are you going to trade him if you're not going to resign him? What's going to happen at quarterback? Who's the Raiders franchise quarterback? It seems like we go into year 2 with more questions than we had in year 1. Now, I know in year 1, they were going for it and they were trying to go for the playoffs. So obviously they're going to have fewer questions, but you would think that at this point in the season, you start to see, okay, what's the direction of this football team? I know it doesn't look good now, but we could see the vision. You ever hear that saying with kids these days say now, and I'm old fuddy duddy, I'm 37 years old now, but kids usually say, yeah, I could see the vision. I may not agree. I may not like the ride, but I could see what they're trying to do. I could see where it's going. And for the Raiders, just as this caller said, I don't know where it's headed. Like I said, I don't even know if they're buyers or sellers at the deadline. And then what does that look like after the deadline? If you're sellers, are you going to fold it up and just, play your young guys? If you're buyers, are you saying that this team is can still be competitive? Like, what is the messaging? What are you trying to accomplish? And I remember really quick, Scott. I remember in The Athletic, Vic Tafur published a piece and said the Raiders are not judging this season on wins. It's more about player development. And as you said, you talked to Baldy about this. We're not even seeing enough player development.
No.
So then, what is there to hang on? What do fans can fans say and look at something and say, okay, I have hope because of this. Tyree Wilson looks like he's going to be a star. Jacory Bennett looks like a starter. We bought some pieces at the trade deadline and we got something to build off of. You can't say any of that.
But even the player, like to your point about player development, I mean, has Dylan Parham got a lot better than he was last year? He had a good little season last year. He played himself into a role. Has he gotten markedly better? Not really. Not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's not gotten better.
He's all right.
Colton Miller, who's a veteran, got worse in some ways. And he's a solid player. I mean, he's not anything to shake a stick at, but I'm just saying it to the point about player development. It's just not good. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got an email. We had a bunch of emails, but they're so long we can't read them on the air. That's why I ask you if you're going to leave a little bit of a longer message, bust it out on the phone, because then we can do it. You don't want to hear me read something. So we'll do that. We'll come back on Silver and Black today after the break. A mailbag edition. We got a call and an email waiting in the queue. This is Scott and Mo. This is Silver and Black today. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back as we hit the home stretch here on the mailbag edition of the show. Happy Friday to everybody out there. We appreciate you guys being with us. All right, right back into the voicemail. We have now a call from a fan in Vegas. Yes, Raider Nation in Oakland. There are fans in Vegas. They're real. They exist. Yes, they're there, by the way. Okay, Calvin Sullivan from Vegas. Here you go.
That brings back the Raider culture that I watched. And I'm talking a coach that has love for the shield. Not a coach that wants to be a New England. Not a coach that wants to bring their past team. I'm talking about a coach that's going to bring back the culture. That's the question I want to know. I see a lot of coaches out there. One I'm really rooting for is Brian Flores. After seeing that Minnesota game last night, that's the coach that we need. Some coach that's going to bring accountability, that's going to bring some stableness to this organization. But that's the question I want. All the Raiders, is Mark Davis going to finally man up and hire a coach that wants to bring back the culture of the Raiders? All right.
There you go. Calvin Sullivan, Vegas. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Told me he's originally from LA as well. All right. So, Mo, a couple things there. Number one is culture. So every coach brings a culture. Remember when John Gruden came back? It was like, oh, it's back. Chucky, he's back. Bringing that swagger that they had in the early 2000s, last time they went to a Super Bowl. The Rich Gannon years, the Lincoln Kennedy year, all that stuff. It didn't really take hold, right? So then you have the Patriots West culture come in. That's not working so far. So the idea of the culture, if you're talking about Calvin, if you're talking about the culture of the Raiders from the 70s or 80s, you can get a piece of that, a spirit of that, but you can't get that back. Football has changed. you can look at a Dan Campbell. Like that's a guy I think would have, I mean, I know he's with the Lions, he's not going anywhere, but that's the kind of guy who I think Raider fans would be endeared to. He's a blue collar guy. He's a in your face guy. He's emotional. Like, so I see that. Brian Flores is not that, by the way. He's not that guy. And if you look at what happened, and I know there's, he said, she said, lawsuits, all that stuff. But if you really look at what happened in Miami with player development under Brian Flores was not good, even though they had some good progress. So there's lots of names out there, but this idea of culture and bringing back the Raider culture, Mo, what do you think about that?
I think you can bring it back with a flavor of modernness, if that's a word. Modernity, yeah. Modernness. Okay. Yeah. Like you said, this, you can't bring back the 70s Raiders because those players would be suspended and fined. They step every week on the field, right? Yeah. So I think you can meld the Raiders culture with a winning culture. And I think the winning culture has to be first and foremost, primary, because winning is all, right? In this business. I'll throw out a name that could bring back some of what Calvin wants in the Raiders culture and winning. If he doesn't sign an extension with Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, who's a former quarterbacks coach with the Raiders and a winner everywhere he's gone, you get some of the the Raiders' roots, because like I said, he was a coach on staff. And then I know Scott's covering his face because it's Michigan, but you get a former Raiders coach and you get a guy who does nothing but win. You want to marry, if you want the toughness and the speed of the physical prowess of the old Raiders, you can have that without the bonehead of penalties, without some of the other stuff, and still get the winning out of Jim Harbaugh. Again, now Jimmy Harbaugh is tied up with Michigan, but if you've been reading reports, the program's been getting a lot of trouble stealing signs, which to me is not a big deal. But he was suspended for the first, 3-4 games of the season for a recruiting violation. If he's done in Michigan, let's say Michigan wins the Natty this year. He goes, won the Natty. I beat Ohio State for the last 2 years. There's nothing for me to do in college football. I want to go back to the NFL. Now, let's remember, Jim Harbaugh has a 70% win percentage in the NFL and about a 71% win percentage in college. So, again, this is a guy that's won wherever he's gone, and he has the Raider roots. I think the answer to your question, Calvin, would be Jim Harbaugh. That would be the number one choice for you.
Oof. You don't think he belongs in New England where they already cheat?
No.
He's not a New England. Jim Harbaugh hired a Navy intelligence guy. They've been cheating. If you guys haven't been following up with that, it's incredible.
You ain't trying. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I know that's the Al Davis thing, but
Raider roots, Scott. Not cheating, you're not trying. Bring in Jim Harbaugh. I don't care.
But I don't know if Jim Harbaugh. It's been a long time since he's been in the NFL.
I understand that. I understand.
I was there.
You don't forget how to coach. You don't forget how to coach. If you're a good coach, you just don't become a poor head coach. It's not like it was Nick Saban where he failed in the NFL and then went to college. This is a guy who got the 49ers, just didn't win, but the 49ers were a perennial playoff contender with him there.
Yes.
Just saying.
But my guess is he will end up in Chicago because he gets the first 2 draft picks in the 2024 draft. And he's a Midwest guy. Just saying, that's where I think but a good suggestion. All right. Calvin, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it. All right. Got one more email here I want to get to and read for you guys. A little bit of a longer one from Kurt Miller. Oh, no, it's not from Kurt Miller. Sorry. Kurt, his next show. Where did it go? See, I'm losing my email. So I love the voicemail. Oh, Anthony Williams. Anthony Williams from Sacramento. As I'm listening to Josh McDaniels try to come up with a great explanation as to how they lost the Bears this past Sunday, question that dawned on me. It seems clear that Mark Davis is looking to reap the benefits of the team's revenue. The numbers show since the move to Vegas, they've gained over 50% value. So he's not worried about seats and so on and so forth. Be good enough to stay relevant, but not good enough to win at all. Can't say that for those gentlemen that come in every week and put their bodies through hell to earn the hard work, to earn what they work for hard. But JMD is up. Josh McDaniels, the guy just doesn't seem to have it. Being a younger Raiders fan is becoming to be the hardest thing to me. as the closest thing to success I have seen is the 2016 or 2021 teams. Go figure. Anyway, until next time, blessings to you fellas. All right, so that is Anthony out in Sacramento. Of course, I'm on D-Lo and KC every Tuesday in Sacramento, as well as the Playmaker guys on Thursday too with James and Kyle. So interesting here. He's talking about, I get this. People are like, well, he's making money, so maybe he doesn't care to win. You know, even all NFL owners, anybody who has a competitive bone in their body wants to win. I don't think Mark Davis wakes up and says, hey, I don't want to win today, but I'm making a lot of money. Right. So I think that that's not genuine. I see why people feel that way. Cause yes, he doesn't have to win football games to sell out the stadium. It's already sold out. But I wouldn't put aside, and we talked about it yesterday on the show about when or if Josh McDaniels is ushered out of town, if things don't get better, that'll be because he gets embarrassed. You know, nobody wants to have their team be the joke of the league. And the Raiders have become that, at least for now. They have an opportunity to get out of it. But you agree with that?
I'll say this, because the franchise is making money. Zero chance Mark sells the team. If something is making money, if something is lucrative, you're not going to sell it, right? So all the people saying Mark needs to sell the team, they're wasting their breath. That's number one. The other thing is, you're right. If you're an owner, even if you're making money off of something, you want to win, especially if you're a fixture at a lot of these games. So a lot of games the Raiders have at Allegiant Stadium, they're showing Mark Davis. Remember, he got caught on camera calling somebody an a-hole one time, right? So he's a fixture at all these games, and I'm sure he would get tired of the camera showing him being angry as the Raiders are getting blown out or losing a football game to a lesser team. So eventually that wears on you. The thing is, I think Mark Davis has watched how his late father handled the team, and maybe while he has a little bit of that in him, I think he wants to be less impulsive because he saw how that worked under his father, and he wants to not be the complete opposite, but be a little more patient. The problem is you can be patient to a fault. And I tweeted this on X recently, and I said, the worst thing you do when you have a mistake is to double down on that mistake. I understand a lot of Raider fans say we need consistency. The Raiders need consistency. We've seen the turnover and it doesn't work. But if you see that something is not working and the consistency is embarrassment and historic losses, you have to pivot. You just have to admit the mistake and move on. You have to rip the Band-Aid off.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's evident. And to your point, you don't just cry for consistency for the sake of consistency. That's not what it's about. Consistency is you don't fire a coach who led you to the playoffs the previous season, the next season, because of another reason, right? You don't do that. We've seen other teams do that too, and it always works out poorly for them usually. So I get it, and I want to thank you for your email and for listening in Sacramento as well. So that's awesome. All right, well, that's going to do it, Mo, for this show. It's already over for the Mailbag show on this Friday. Of course, the game coming up on Monday night, which makes our Sundays a little different when I don't have to talk about the Raiders on Sunday. It's almost like having a half a day off, right? But now it's on Monday night, so it'll be interesting. And we will have our post-game reaction. Mo will have his pregame and post-game Bleacher Report live, so make sure you download the Bleacher Report app on your phone. That's how I like to do it when I go in there and harass them, is do it right from my phone. So do that as well. Make sure you check out all his work on Bleacher Report. Also, the Raider work up on Sportsnot, as well as mine too. Mo, any parting words for Raider Nation out there as they get ready for the weekend and for Monday's big matchup with the Detroit Lions?
Raider fans, listen to me clear here, okay? Don't let the Raiders ruin your weekend. Don't let the Raiders ruin your Monday. I always say, when you have your expectations up too high, it could bring you down to a point of depression. All right. So, and I'm being serious here. There are fans out there, and I saw this question on X. There was a question: how long does a Raiders loss linger on for you? And there were some people that said they don't get over it for a week. They don't get over it for a half a week, 3-4 days. And I'm here to say, the way the season is headed, before you go into a game with your expectations, just understand where the Raiders are headed and temper those expectations so you're not taking it out on your kids, your wife, your brother, your sister, your coworkers. Because at the end of the day, if you're not going to jump ship and be a fan of another team, you're not going anywhere, so you're just going to have to stick it out. But just understand there's another game, there's another season, there's another year. I just hope that it turns around soon for a lot of the older Raider fans, because, of course, the younger people have a lot of time. The older Raider fans, I'm not putting a date on anyone, but they want to see some wins. But at least they saw some titles back in the days, the 80s and 70s. They've seen.
Let me encapsulate what Mo just said. He said, "Hey, old Raider fans, you're gonna die before they win." That's what he said. Just quote him, everybody. Just quote him.
just young Raider fans, be patient. Young Raider fans, be patient. Older Raider fans, I know it's not great to always look in the rearview mirror, but just remember the glory days. Remember the good days. Savor that right now, because the way it's headed right now, it could get worse before it gets better. I'm just going to tell you that.
Oof. That's a way to send you your week. All right. There you go. Mo, as always, my friend, thank you. All right. For our producer, Mike Robier, and for Mo Moten, I'm Scott Branson. Thank you to everybody out there for participating. Keep the voicemails coming. Keep the emails coming. We appreciate them very much. We can't always get to all of them, but we try to work them in the next show as long as they're still relevant. But we'll always take your stuff, so make sure you do that. Without you guys, we are not here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And until Monday night, this has been Silver and Black Today. Take care.
Raider Nation, reports say Hunter Renfrow could be cut soon. Let's talk about the Raiders' confusing strategy in player management. Financially, it's a mess. Renfrow gets $14 million this season, and guess what? He's barely seen action, just 5 games and 8 receptions for 73 yards. Add in the mess with Carr and Waller last year, and you have to ask what the front office is thinking. The bigger issue, NFL contracts often come with guaranteed money, so trading or releasing players like Renfrow can seriously mess with the salary cap. This isn't just bad for the team's present, it's a nightmare for future seasons too. Raiders, what are you doing?